You think you know the story of Snow White, a poisoned apple, a jealous queen, a magic mirror, and a beautiful princess saved by true love's kiss. It sounds like a charming bedtime tale, doesn't it? But what if I told you that this beloved fairy tale is actually the shattered reflection of something much darker? Something ancient and deeply occult? Hidden beneath the lace-trimmed pages of this children's classic lies a story of necromancy, forbidden rituals, and a mirror that may have been more than just enchanted. It may have been possessed. Because long before Walt Disney gave her ruby lips and golden curls Snow White was a warning, and her mirror a gateway into the world of medieval witchcraft. Once upon a time, there was a young princess with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. She lived in a great castle, under the eye of her stepmother, a vain, cruel queen obsessed with being the fairest of them all. One day, the queen turned to her magic mirror and asked the infamous question, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror, bound by enchantment, replied that Snow White had surpassed her in beauty. Consumed by jealousy, the queen ordered a huntsman to kill the girl. But he could not bear to harm her and let her go. Snow White fled deep into the forest, where she found shelter with 7 dwarfs. But the queen was relentless. Disguised as an old crone, she tricked Snow White with a poisoned apple. The girl collapsed, lifeless. In the end, a prince discovered her, and with a kiss broke the spell. The queen met her demise, and Snow White lived happily ever after. Or so the story goes. But the tale wasn't always told this way. The first written version of Snow White appeared in 1812, collected by the brothers Grimm. However, their version was far more brutal and laced with disturbing undertones. In this early account, the queen was forced to dance in red-hot iron shoes until she died, a grotesque punishment that seems almost ritualistic. Earlier folkloric variants, especially those from Eastern Europe and the Alpine regions, depict the queen not merely as a jealous stepmother, but as a witch, a practitioner of dark arts, versed in mirror magic and blood spells. As time passed, the story was softened for children. In Victorian England, the magic was downplayed, the horror sanitized. The Grimm brothers themselves revised their tale multiple times, making it less violent with each edition. But traces of its ancient form still linger, in the mirror, the apple, and the queen's obsession with youth. These are not just fairy tale motifs. They are symbols with deep roots in ritual magic, alchemy, and pagan traditions. On closer inspection, many details in Snow White echo mythologies from around the ancient world. In Greek mythology, the goddess Persephone is lured into the underworld with a fruit, a pomegranate, that binds her to the realm of the dead. Snow White's apple, too, is a fruit of entrapment. In Norse legend, the Cirrus Frigg owns a mirror that reveals hidden truths. Mirrors were sacred and feared, often believed to house spirits or reflect the soul as true nature. From ancient Slavic tales, we hear of the deathless witch, Baba Yaga, who dwells in the forest and tests young maidens with tasks of life, death, and rebirth. Snow White's journey into the woods and her death sleep mirror these initiation trials. Could it be that Snow White is not merely a victim, but an archetype? A symbolic vessel of the maiden, the one who must die, descend, and return transformed? And the queen perhaps not just evil, but a former priestess or sorceress, desperate to hold on to fading power. In 1994, A team of folklorists and archaeologists working in southern Germany uncovered fragments of a medieval manuscript, a handwritten codex buried in a collapsed chapel near the Black Forest. It contained not just Christian liturgy, but also a collection of pagan spells, charms, and a curious story titled The Maiden in the Glass Coffin. Though older than the Grimm versions, it shares striking similarities. A young girl with skin like alabaster, a wicked woman skilled in divination through reflective surfaces, and a red fruit that steals breath. Other versions have been found across Europe, in Scandinavia, Italy, and even parts of the Balkans, all sharing a core pattern. A beautiful maiden, an object of sorcery, a forest exile, and a return from death. Some scholars now believe the tale dates back to ancient Anatolia, over 3,000 years ago, where goddess cults performed seasonal rites involving symbolic death and rebirth of a divine feminine figure. The dwarfs? Possibly remnants of ancient chthonic spirits, guardians of the underworld and its hidden treasures. Let us decode what lies beneath the symbols of Snow White. The mirror. More than a simple enchanted object, the mirror was, in medieval witchcraft, a tool for scrying, the act of divining the future or communicating with spirits. The queen's obsession with the mirror suggests a reliance on ancient occult practices, possibly necromantic in origin. The apple. Universally, the apple has represented forbidden knowledge, temptation, and mortality. In Celtic and Druidic traditions, apples were linked to the otherworld, a place between life and death. The poisoned apple may not kill Snow White in the physical sense, but trap her soul in a suspended state, echoing shamanic trance or dream time. The glass coffin, a powerful alchemical image. Glass was considered a pure, almost spiritual material. To be preserved in glass implies a kind of sacred stasis, a soul in limbo. It's not death, but a pause between worlds, awaiting transformation. The queen, often portrayed as vain, but what if her vanity was fear? Fear of obsolescence, of losing magical power tied to youth and beauty. She is the crone of the triple goddess cycle, once powerful, now fading, and desperate to reclaim her role by consuming the maiden's vitality. The resurrection kiss. Is this truly romantic or ritualistic? In some ancient myths, the kiss is symbolic, a breath of life, a soul-calling incantation. The prince may represent the solar hero, awakening the earth goddess from her winter sleep. Thus, Snow White is not a simple fairy tale. It is an allegory of feminine cycles, spiritual initiation, and the eternal dance between youth and decay, life and death. The story of Snow White, you thought was just a tale for children, is in fact the fractured memory of an ancient myth, buried beneath layers of folklore, religion, and fear. It is a coded story of witchcraft, of mirror magic, and the fight between the sacred feminine's phases, maiden and crone. It speaks of forbidden rites, lost goddess traditions, and the terrifying beauty of transformation. So the next time you see a mirror, ask yourself, what is it really reflecting? And if that sends a chill down your spine, just wait until you hear about the true origins of Sleeping Beauty. Because sometimes, fairy tales remember things the world has tried to forget.